Where to begin? Perhaps with the day I realized that the world does not wait politely for anyone, least of all for a Hunnic boy with more ambition than sense. I am Attila, though most of the Romans nervously whispered my name like it was a curse. The Scourge of God, they called me, which frankly made my mother laugh. She, a woman of remarkable cunning and resilience, always said I had a spark, though she might have been hoping it would stay contained in a less blood-soaked fashion. I was born around 406 AD, somewhere along the vast steppes north of the Black Sea, though maps back then were as reliable as a drunken horse, so no one can pinpoint it exactly. My early years were filled with the kind of freedom only steppe life offers. Endless plains, galloping horses, and a childhood so rough it toughened my bones and sharpened my wits, not to mention taught me to throw a spear before I could properly tie my sandals. My family was ambitious, but also politically savvy. My uncle, Rugila, ruled before me, and I watched him navigate alliances and betrayals with the careful calculation of a chess master, though, in truth, it often seemed more like a wild game of stab the enemy, hope it works out. From him, I learned one of the most valuable lessons of my life. People underestimate you until you make them tremble, and sometimes you have to remind them who's boss with decisive action. Now, adolescence for a Hunnic prince wasn't exactly a time for awkward teen angst. It was about learning to command, to fight, to strategize, and occasionally to exploit the Romans, who, let me tell you, were perpetually ripe for exploitation. I remember the first time I crossed paths with them, already thinking these city folk have too many rules and not enough common sense. They called themselves civilized, but if civilization means endlessly squabbling over taxes and borders while your neighbors ride horses across your backyard, I'll stick with the steppe, thank you very much. My rise to power began around 434 AD, after my uncle's passing, when I took the reins of the Huns. It wasn't exactly a smooth succession, power rarely is. My brothers and I had our differences, but I quickly learned that a leader cannot afford hesitation or sentimentality. You need decisiveness, vision, and a certain flair for the dramatic, which, as history will attest, I possessed in abundance. One of my first major achievements as ruler was consolidating the Hunnic tribes under a single banner. Imagine herding cats if the cats were armed, temperamental, and prone to raiding each other whenever someone sneezed. I rode from camp to camp, negotiating, intimidating, charming, sometimes all three in the same breath. By 437 AD, I had solidified enough authority to truly make the Huns a force that no emperor could ignore. And ignore them the Romans tried. Oh, how they tried. They sent emissaries, gold, and flattering words, all hoping I'd be content with a bit of tribute and leave them alone. I, naturally, enjoyed testing their patience. There's a certain thrill in watching a Roman senator nervously adjust his toga while trying not to spill the coins he's bribing you with. Sometimes diplomacy is best served with a raised eyebrow and a firm reminder that the steppes are bigger than their walls. But let us speak of battles. For what is a Hunnic king without the clash of swords and the thunder of hooves? My campaigns are legendary, though not without their peculiarities. In 447 AD, I marched into the Roman Empire, a spectacle of terror and precision that left cities trembling. Yet I always had a mind for strategy as much as brute force. I preferred swift, decisive strikes, lightning raids that left my enemies wondering which way was up. And yes, the Romans may have called me a monster, but I preferred to think of myself as a man with excellent timing and an appreciation for dramatic entrances. I met many generals in battle, some courageous, some foolish, and a few who truly impressed me. Even then, I could admire skill. even as I crushed it under the weight of my cavalry. Romance, you ask? Even a warlord must have a heart, or at least a convenient arrangement. My wife Ildiko was said to be clever and composed, a calm presence amid the storms of my life. We had alliances, and perhaps even affection, though history remembers more my conquests than my tenderness. Still, the Huns valued loyalty and strength in partnership as much as in battle. I like to think she appreciated my occasional dry humor, though she might have also rolled her eyes at my more dramatic inclinations. A leader must keep some things mysterious, after all. As the years progressed, I found myself not merely fighting, but negotiating with the great powers of the world. The Eastern and Western Roman empires both sought to manage me, some with gold, some with diplomacy, and others with open hostility. I found humor in their consternation, in how meticulously they tried to predict my next move. Yet I was always pragmatic. It wasn't merely about conquest, it was about positioning, about ensuring my people thrived, about turning chaos into opportunity. Tribute, treaties, raids, they were tools, each wielded at the right time. And sometimes the right time involved appearing at their city gates in full regalia so they might remember who truly held power. Of course, not all my life was war and strategy. There were moments, fleeting but precious, when the sun over the steppe reminded me of simpler joys, riding at full gallop, the wind in my hair, a good laugh at a campfire, perhaps a prank on one of my less careful lieutenants. History may remember me for terror and power, but I recall those moments with a grin. Life is, after all, a mix of blood and joy, and one must savor both while one can. I met my end in 453 AD, in a way that perhaps suits a man of my temperament, unexpected, though not entirely shocking. They say I choked on my own blood during a feast, a somewhat ironic exit for a man who had delivered so many others to the afterlife. Yet, even in death, I became legend, my name echoing through centuries, a symbol of fear, respect, and, admittedly, a touch of fascination. The Romans wrote of me with dread, historians later with curiosity, and the Huns? They remember a leader who rode harder, fought fiercer, and laughed louder than most men could dream of. So here I am, speaking across time, not just as Attila, but as a man who lived with purpose, daring, and a stubborn refusal to be ordinary. I conquered, I commanded, I negotiated, and yes, I sometimes startled a senator or two. My life was a storm, a tempest across the plains of Europe and the pages of history. And if in the telling you glimpse the spark of a boy on the steppes, wild and fearless, know this: even the smallest beginnings can roar across the world. My story is not merely about battles or terror. It is about ambition, wit, and the relentless pursuit of leaving a mark as unmistakable as the name Attila, forever echoing in memory, legend, and perhaps a wry smile at the audacity of it all.